Story Hour with Miss Barbara. This story today is called Three New Dresses for School, and it's by Martha Gwinn Kiser. And it's from a book of stories with pictures by Gramma Moses. And here's the picture to go with this story. Now, this story takes place during the time in America when people mostly made their own clothes, and they still drove in carriages pulled by horses, but it's not too far in the past, and people's dresses, young girls anyway, dresses were getting a little shorter, not all the way down to the ground. So here's the story. One day, little Ruey was playing with her friends on the porch, and her Aunt Tude came up the steps with a big brown paper package. "What's in the package, Aunt Tude?" cried little Ruey. "Some fabric for your dresses for school," she said. Well, then Ruey wanted to follow her in the house and see what they looked like, and so all her friends went home, and she followed her Aunt Tude in the house and said eagerly, "Let's see what's inside the package, Aunt Tude." So her aunt carefully pulled off the brown string and opened the brown paper, and there was a big pile of fabric. Brown, little brown apples and blue calico. And little Ruey said, "Oh, blue, that's nice, with little brown apples." "Well, yes," said Aunt Tude, "this is a good, serviceable color. It won't fade." "Well, what do the others look like? I know Grandma said she was giving you money for 3 dresses." "Oh, it's all here in this pile of fabric," said Aunt Tude. "I got such a good deal on this fabric I thought I'd make all 3 of them out of this. It's going to last a long time, and I think being serviceable is most important." "Oh," said Ruey, "but I was hoping for a pink one and a lavender dress." "Now," said Aunt Tude, "you were much easier to raise when you were little. I'm sure I'm just not a good mother for you any more. I just don't know how to raise older girls." And it looked like she was going to cry, so Ruey quickly put her arm around her and said, "Oh, no, you're a wonderful mother. You're an Aunt Tude. You're my Aunt Tude." And suddenly the color of the dresses didn't seem so important anymore to Ruey. She just wanted her aunt and her grandma to be happy, and she didn't want to trouble them at all. So she decided she would button up her lip just as the way she would button up those dresses. So pretty soon Aunt Tude started sewing up the dresses. The first one she made was just a plain style, but she promised Ruey that the next 2 would be different. She'd put ruffles on one and maybe some uh, pleats on a bias along the shoulder on the other. Unfortunately, when it came time to sew those dresses, Aunt Tude decided she didn't have fabric to do all that, and so the 3 dresses ended up being all exactly alike. About 2 or 3 days before school started, when the dresses were almost finished, Grandma finally came over. She'd been helping Miss Mason at her store and hadn't had time to come over in quite a while. And so she came in and she said, "Tude, how are those dresses for Ruey coming along?" "I didn't have time, but I have some now and I can help you sew them up." "Oh," said Aunt Tude, "they're just about finished." "Oh, let me see one." said Grandma. So Aunt Tude brought out one of the blue dresses. Hmm, said Grandma. Blue, huh? But not even ripe red apples? These apples look like they're even too old for applesauce. Well, oh, they should be fine for like washing the dishes in the evening. Um, what do you think of 'em, Ruey? Now Ruey didn't want her grandma to be disappointed, and she didn't want to cause any suffering for her Aunt Tude, so she said, "Oh, I love 'em. They're such cute brown little apples." So Grandma said, "Well, let's see the other two." And Aunt Tude said, "Oh, they're all the same." And she brought 'em out and laid 'em on Grandma's lap, and Grandma's like, "Well, land sakes and applesauce. All three exactly the same?" "Well," said Aunt Tude, "I just think that's more important to have serviceable dresses than anything how doesn't matter how they look." "Oh dear, my dear Tude," said Grandma, "you're very good with on your job working with adults, but I don't think you understand little girls, how they like pink and colors like that." "Oh, but I don't want to scold you because you've been doing a great job. But if you needed more fabric to make some ruffles at least, or put some rickrack on, I could have easily given you some more money." And little Ruey said, "What, Grandma, you've been paying for me?" "Of course," said Grandma, "ever since they put me in, you were just a little 3-year-old, and they put you in my arms after your mommy and daddy weren't going to be able to take care of you anymore. They had gone on. And I brought you to Aunt Tude because Aunt Becky was needing my time all the time, and well, I figured Aunt Tude was younger and she could take care of you better than I could." "But Tude," she said, "I don't think you understand little girls." And Aunt Tude said, "I guess you're right, Ma. It was easier when she was little and just needed diapers changed and simple food. Well, nothing to be done about it now," said Grandma. And so school came, and Ruey hadn't seen Grandma. She was back to helping Miss Mason. So she wore her first blue dress to school, and a couple days later, when that one was dirty, she wore the next one, and by the end of 2 weeks she had worn all three, and they were ready. Two of them were already washed and hung in her closet, ready to start the next week. But that Friday, when she was playing leaf, throwing leaves at each other under the apple tree at school, Sophie Calkins came up and said, "Ruey Sarvis has one dress. Ruey Sarvis has one dress. She has the same dress every day." And Ruey said, "I do not. I have 3 dresses that are all the same." But she didn't think anybody believed her because the next day another girl said, "Oh," she whispered aloud to her seatmate, "Ruey Sarvis washed out her same blue dress last night." And then when some girls walked by, they kind of flicked their fingers at her dress. And Ruey said to herself, "That's it. I'm not putting up with this anymore." And when she went home, it was a Friday, and she went home for after school, she wouldn't eat the cake that Aunt Tude gave her. And Aunt Tude said, "What is the problem?" And Ruey said, "It's the kids at school. They're teasing me, saying I have only one dress. I wonder if you'd do me a favor, Aunt Tude. I wonder if you'd wash out all 3 dresses tomorrow morning and hang 'em on the line, and I'll bring my friends over to the yard, and they'll see those dresses, and they'll know that I have 3 dresses." So Aunt Tude was banging the pots together on the stove, saying, "Oh, this is the silliest thing I ever heard. I don't. Finally, she said, okay, I'll do that for you tomorrow. But after that, I don't want to hear another word about blue dresses. So that night, when Ruby went to the store to get some food, she stopped to see Grandma at Miss Mason's and said, well, the kids are bothering me at school. So the next morning, she went out to gather up her friends. And she also stopped at the store and got some groceries for Aunt Tude. And first she stopped and got Sophie Calkins and then Maisie Wilson, and they were helping her pull the wagon with all the groceries in it. And then two boys came along and said they'd pull the wagon for her, and they walked along holding the groceries in there. The girls did. And then two more girls, and then two more, and pretty soon they had 8 altogether. And Ruey thought, 8, that ought to do it. If 8 people in my class see that I have 3 dresses, the problem should be solved. So, and she was kind of thinking, they're going to feel pretty small when they see those dresses. About small enough to fit in a thimble, which is a saying of Aunt Tude's. So they pulled the wagon into the yard and went into the back gate, into the backyard, and then everybody stopped. Ruey along with them, because there weren't 3 blue dresses hanging on the line. Nope, those blue dresses were nowhere to be seen. Instead, there was a pink one, and a purple one, and a light green one, with ruffles and rick-rack and sailor collars, and just the prettiest dresses she ever saw. And there were some white things on the line. They were petticoats with ruffles and lace on the ruffles. And Sophie Calkins stopped and said, are those your dresses, Ruey? Wow. And Grandma and Aunt Tude were sitting on the porch in their rocking chairs, and Grandma came down and threw her apple pit in the garden and said, oh, yeah. Do you like this pink gingham with the rickrack? And how about this purple one, this lavender one with the sailor collar? My favorite is this light green one with the bow sewn in and tied for the back. And it has little tucks all up it that Aunt Tude sewed in by hand. And Ruey gave her aunt a sweet look, and her aunt gave her a sweet look back. And then Sophie Calkins said, wow, I'm going to ask my mom to make me one like that green one. And all the girls were just eyeing her dresses and saying how pretty they were. And Grandma was saying, and she's going to have a same color ribbon to wear for her hair for each dress. As soon as we can have a chance to get into town, we'll take the carriage and the horse out and do some shopping. And then Grandma said, and these are just when the weather is warm. When it gets colder, we'll be making her some nice cashmere dresses. Finally, all of Sophie's friends went home, and Sophie went in to have supper with her Aunt Tude and Grandma. And she ate with a good appetite. But she had to get up every once in a while and go look at those dresses hanging on the line. Later, when Aunt Tude went to her club, she and Grandma sat on the rocking chairs on the porch, and Ruey said, Grandma, those dresses are so pretty they look just like a rainbow hanging on the line. And Grandma said, yeah, and you know what rainbows mean, don't you? Rainbows mean that no more sorrow, good times are here. And for you, it means no more crying, happy days are here. And Ruey said, oh, Grandma, I didn't mean for you to hear my sniffles. That's okay, said Grandma. I was happy to do this. This makes me happier than I've been in a long time. And so Gramma and Rui brought in the dresses, said, "Let's take this rainbow off the line." And that was a happy day for Rui. And that's the end of my story. But I just wanted to say that the reason I particularly like this story is because when I was 6 years old, going in first grade, I got 3 rainbow dresses. They were the first new dresses I ever had. It was a yellow one, a pink one, and an aqua blue one. And they were just plain colors and so pretty. And the reason I never had any new dresses before is because in those days the stores were small and the dresses were very expensive. And I just wore dresses from the poor box that the nice ladies from church brought to our house. But right around that time when I was 6, these new stores opened up and the first one was called the Atlantic Mills Thrift Center. And there was another one called Treasure Island. And these were big stores like warehouses, no fancy tables or anything, but everything was really cheap. And my mom was able to buy me 3 dresses. Those stores aren't around anymore, but now we have stores like Target and Kmart and Walmart. So I have fond memories of my 3 rainbow dresses as well. Thanks for listening to the story, and I'll see you next time.